This tutorial is for 5th grade, Module 1, Lesson 10. In the previous lesson we added decimals, and in this lesson we're going to follow a similar procedure, but this time we're subtracting decimals. We'll start off with the word form of the decimals and we'll write the answer in standard form. My first problem is 5/10 minus 2/10. So I just think if I have 5/10 and I take 2 of them away, that leaves me with 3/10. As a decimal, my 3 is in my 10th spot. Here I have 5 ones and 9 thousandths. I'm subtracting 2 ones. So I will subtract my ones from my ones, so 5 ones minus 2 ones is 3 ones. I did not subtract any thousandths, so I still have 9 thousandths. In standard form, I know I have 3 wholes, and this 9 needs to be in my thousandth spot. So there's my tenths, hundredths, thousandths. So the answer is 3 and 9 thousandths. In the next problem, I have 7 hundredths and 8 hundredths minus 4 hundredths. So since I'm not subtracting any of my hundreds, I still have 7 hundredths. But I am subtracting 4 hundredths from 8 hundredths, which leaves me with 4 hundredths. In standard form, 7 hundredths would be how many whole numbers I have. 4 hundredths, I know the 4 is in the hundredth spot, so that's the second spot to the right of the decimal point. The next question is 37 thousandths minus 16 thousandths. Well, if I subtracted 17 thousandths, I know that would take me to 20. And so if I subtract 16 thousandths, that must be 21 thousandths. To write that as a decimal, I know the 21 needs to stop in the thousandths place. So 21 thousandths, because I'm in the third place value spot to the right of the decimal point. To solve these problems using the standard algorithm, I need to line up my numbers vertically, making sure that I line up my place values correctly. So I have my tenths on top of my tenths, my whole numbers on top of my whole numbers. If I'm going to subtract, I can look at this as 14 minus 7, which I know is 7, but it is a decimal, so the answer is actually 7/10. In the next problem, I have 91 and 49 hundredths minus 7/10. So I have to make sure my 7 is below the 4, because that's 4/10 in that number. This empty spot can also be filled in with a 0, and that tells me I'm taking 9 minus 0. Here I have 4 minus 7. I need to regroup here. Again, it ends up being 14 minus 7, which is 7. And now I have 90 minus nothing. So my final answer is 90 and 79 hundredths. The last problem, I have 191 wholes, 49 hundredths. I'm subtracting 10 and 72 hundredths, making sure the place values are lined up correctly. 9 minus 2 is 7. Do my regrouping again. 14 minus 7 is 7. 0 minus 0 is 0. 19 minus 1 is 18. For a final answer of 180 and 77 hundredths. Now we're going to use a tape diagram to help us solve this decimal word problem. A tape diagram is a great visual representation for word problems because it helps kids see what's actually going on in the problem. So I'll read through the question first. A pen costs $2.09. The pen is 45 cents less than a marker. Ken paid for 1 pen and 1 marker. Use tape diagrams to find the total cost. So we'll start with our original information. We know that he bought 1 pen. So I'm going to draw a tape diagram to represent my pen. So I have the tape, and I know that this amount is $2.09. We know that the pen is 45 cents less than the marker. So that tells me the marker is more than the pen. So I'm going to make my tape for the marker longer than the tape for the pen. Now we don't know how much the marker costs. All we know is the difference between the two prices is 45 cents. So I'm going to show that here's the difference between the cost of the pen and the cost of the marker. So this section of my marker I know is 45 cents because the pen is 45 cents less than the cost of the marker. The final question though is how much did Ken pay altogether? So I still have two things to figure out. I need to figure out the price of the marker, and then I need to add my two figures together. So we know that, again, that pen is $2.09 and it's 45 cents less than the marker. So this part of the marker is 45 cents. This part is the same size as the pen, so it's $2.09. So this whole tape together gives me the price of the marker. So $2.09 plus 45 cents equals $2.54. Now I have the price of both the pen and the marker. I can add those together to come up with my total cost. So I have $2.09 for the pen, $2.54 for the marker. Add them together, and I get $4.63. So Ken paid $4.63.